abruptly. You wonder who sat here on this seat now stained with blood. Was it a pretty face that made this gaping, jagged hole in the windshield? Whose body came crashing against the steering wheel, twisting it with fear-crazed hands? There are clues, hints that it didn't start out to be a story with an ugly end. A still-tied shoe, almost new, ripped from the driver's foot at the moment of impact. Patent leather. A formal dance. A faded, stained program. It was the senior prom. A corsage. It might have been pressed in a family Bible, but now it lies wilted, shriveling in the sun. A grim reminder that for the girl who wore it, this was to be the last prom. The story really began long before this particular morning. The first chapter was written the day Bill Donovan scraped together the down payment for this car. From that day, the car became the focal point of his existence. He thought of little else but cars. A part-time job to meet car payments took precedence over schoolwork, and his grades suffered. Invariably, some last-minute tinkering with ignition or carburetor would cause him to be late. The adage that opposites attract was borne out by Bill's friend, Jim Miller. Above average grades, no interest in cars, but definitely an interest in a sophomore named Judy Grant.
Now, supposing that you are out on a date, and your boyfriend is driving too fast, is there anything that you can do about it? Judy? Judy!
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't hear the question.
I think you are already out on that date, Judy. All right, Sandy, what would you do?
Well, you could say something like, your foot's getting kind of heavy. Take it easy, something like that.
Good, Sandy. But I wonder now, how about you boys? Would you really slow down if your girl asked you to do that? Or just how would you react? Harrison?
Well, I guess it depends on who the girl was. I guess if I respected her, I would.
All right, Harrison, good. Does anyone else have any other ideas?
Some guys just might speed up to scare a girl, she said that.
All right. There are over 10,000 high schools across the country offering driver training instruction. In many cities, the classroom phase of the course is mandatory for 10th graders. Statistics are proving that high school driver training reduces accident rates by 50% or more. Many insurance firms provide for reduced premiums for young drivers who have taken the training. There is increasing evidence that the mental makeup of the driver is more important than his skill. Good drivers possess the characteristics of emotional stability, sound judgment, and self-control, qualities which are cultivated in the courses.
Now, looking at teenagers as a group, the average young person has the best reflexes, the best eyesight. In fact, you know, you're on about the best physical condition. Everything points to the fact that you should be the best drivers on the road today. But what handicap, if any, do you think you teenagers possess? Tom?
I feel that even though we probably have a faster reaction time, we don't always react the right way, the way an older, more experienced driver might.
Good. I think what you're getting at, Tom, is that the teenager has the reflexes to be about the best driver on the road. But until he gains experience, he lacks judgment. All right, now, don't forget to read Chapter 9 on driver's attitudes.
Okay, I'll see you. Bye-bye. Listen, come on, we've got a few minutes, Sandy, and he wants to meet you.
Gosh, Judy, I don't know. Tom might get mad.
Let him get mad. You're not going steady. And besides, if you want to go to the prom, you have to go with a senior. You know that.
But I don't even know him.
So what? You never know any boy the first time he asks you out. And besides, he's got a neat car.
I know, but I've heard he drives awfully fast.
Will you stop worrying? He's okay. He's a good friend of Jim's. You know that. Oh, come on, or we'll miss him.
Okay, if you say so.
There is something symbolic about being invited to your first senior prom. It's like becoming grown up almost overnight. The invitation may come in a phone call while passing in the hall or even by arrangement. But no matter how, it'll be a moment to cherish and remember. Bill Donovan comes from a nice family, and basically Bill is a good boy. He has a preoccupation with cars, but then this isn't so unusual. His hands always look like a mechanic's, for it seemed he spent most of his time tinkering with the car. He'd wanted a car since he was 14. Now that he had it, he thought of nothing else. One thing for certain, the car hadn't helped his grades in school or his sense of timing. He was always running behind and depended on the car to make up the difference. Mrs. Donovan realized she was too lenient with him, but whenever she said anything, he always reminded her that, after all, it was his car. He was paying for it. She worried about his grades, and particularly about his fast driving. But she took consolation in the fact that, after all, his dad had taught him to drive. Blue jeans and a sweatshirt are what Sam Clark normally thinks of when he thinks of his boisterous 15-year-old daughter. But there's something magic that takes place when she goes to her first prom. Perhaps for the first time, he sees her as a young lady on the threshold of life, radiant, mature, like a butterfly unfolding its wings in the sun for that first flight. From somewhere deep in his memory, a familiar warning voice says, "Parents, know with whom your teenage son or daughter is riding." And for a fleeting instant, there's a feeling of misgiving. Who is this boy looking a little out of place in his summer tux? How well does he drive that car that he shined and polished for this occasion? Perhaps they should have said no. But who could now spoil the magic of this moment? There's little we can add to this scene. It needs no explanation, for it's one that's been reenacted literally 1,000,000 times on the American scene. Let's watch. It is a dangerous illusion that the youngsters who do become involved in traffic violations are always the incorrigibles or the delinquents. Statistics will bear out that the vast majority are decent, average American youth. Your sons and daughters, your neighbors' sons and daughters. Tender years and lack of experience prevents the teenager from being a safe driver, and sometimes from even understanding safety as an adult understands it. Bill Donovan doesn't plan to or want to be a bad driver. Normally shy, he's transformed behind the wheel of a car. In the car, he feels mature. He's master of the situation. Many of his driving habits can be traced directly to his father. You cannot ride with a man for 7 of his antisocial driving attitudes rub off. And if he also teaches you to drive, the bad habits will be embedded even deeper. The roads are filled with Bill Donovans. Good boys, but bad drivers. similarity to all senior proms. Some are a little fancier than the rest, perhaps in a country club instead of the high school gym. You can bet that each represents a great deal of effort, a class project to raise funds, a lot of ingenuity in the theme and decor, and a throng of happy kids wrapped up in a well-deserved celebration. There is another similarity to high school proms. There are always those couples, in spite of all efforts to make the dance a memorable event, who will slip away for a drive in search of more excitement. It's hard to explain. Perhaps an event so long anticipated could never live up to their expectations. Perhaps they seek just one more thrill to add to the memories of this all-important night. Or perhaps it's just plain cussedness. Many schools have done a good job of preventing it with parties that last all night, carefully calculated to drain the last ounce of teenage exuberance. But try as the planners might, the temptation is sometimes too great. There is a strange silence in those first few seconds after a wreck. Only the wail of sirens seems to break the stillness. The spectators are hushed, and even the sounds of the night are silenced, almost as if nature herself was uttering a silent prayer. And then, with the stirrings of consciousness, come the screams of the maimed, the moans of the dying.
They hit that big tree.
Look at that windshield. Somebody must have gone through it. Boy, they should have had seatbelts.
head hit that rock.
The onlookers stand quietly now in the presence of death. The flares cast an eerie glow on ashen faces. The statisticians could have predicted with deadly accuracy that during the 4 hours of the senior prom, 18 people would die on the highway. 640 would be injured. Now, these youngsters are a part of these statistics. Their names become a part of a police record. Another number will be added to the accident totals. In the quiet of an insurance office, actuarial tables will be changed. For the record books, a wreck is an ending. But to the victims and to their loved ones, it's also a beginning. A beginning of the silent suffering of those who will mourn the dead. It's a sometimes thankless job for the men who man the police and fire department emergency vehicles, and for the men and women who staff the emergency rooms of today's modern hospital. It falls their lot to patch together the broken pieces of our lives as we go on destroying ourselves on the nation's highways. Advances in medical technology have been continually reducing the death toll, even though the number of accidents tends to go up. And like the statisticians, the hospital staffs and the emergency crews can accurately predict when we'll have our accidents. On the weekends and holidays, and for the special occasions, like this senior prom, they prepare for us. Extra materials and blood plasma are on hand. Extra personnel are called in. And then they stand and wait. Their vigil is seldom in vain, for scarcely a day passes that they do not race with death as life slips away like sand through an hourglass. There are rich rewards for the doctor who works with emergency patients, had a part in patching together inevitably fail. And how do you explain failure to desperate, grief-stricken parents? How can you make them understand?
2 of our chairs are empty this morning. I think by now you probably all know the reason why. Sandy's chair will be empty a long time. And even when she comes back, carry the scars of that accident on her probably for the rest of her life. I want these 2 chairs to remain empty, even as this group leaves and another semester begins. I want these chairs to serve as a reminder to you and to classes that follow, and to myself, that statistics are not just numbers. It's real people they mean by those statistics, and it's not always the other guy. Those statistics could just as well have been you. I know we all feel very deeply about what has happened. As a driver training instructor, I have mixed emotions. I not only feel the loss of these 2 lovely girls, good students, nice people, but I feel that as a teacher, I have failed you. Over the weekend, I kept asking myself, what else should I have said? What other lesson could I teach? What other emphasis should I give? So that never again would I have empty chairs in my classroom. I also feel a deep responsibility. For after all, it's my job to put you behind the wheel of a car, to try to pound some safety into your heads, to give you the facts that'll make you better drivers. But somewhere, somehow, I failed these two girls. I failed the boys they rode with. Someone has once said that any lesson worth knowing may be the hardest one to learn. We have all learned a very valuable lesson from this experience. But dear God, the price was high.
In a few days, Bill Donovan will be graduating with the seniors of Woodward High. Like every graduate, the years will dim the hard-earned lessons. As the years go by, he may not remember even his teachers' names. But there'll be one lesson he will never forget. He will carry this memory with him as long as he lives. Sandy Clark is wearing her formal gown today. She wears a white orchid corsage. But few will realize this, for the lid of the casket was not open. It was best that way. In a few minutes, it'll be all over. Sandy Clark is taking her last ride.